She took 2 Tylenol capsules for a headache at 7 in the morning. Mary Kellerman, 12 years old, September 29, 1982. Her parents heard a crash from the bathroom 15 minutes later. They found her unconscious on the floor. Paramedics arrived within 6 minutes. She was dead before they reached the hospital. The doctors couldn't understand it. A healthy 12-year-old doesn't just collapse and die from a headache. The autopsy revealed cyanide poisoning, enough potassium cyanide to kill her in minutes. Someone had opened bottles of extra-strength Tylenol, removed the capsules, emptied the medicine inside, filled them with pure cyanide, resealed the capsules, put them back in the bottles, and placed the bottles back on store shelves in the Chicago area. 7 people died in 3 days. The killer was never caught, never identified, never prosecuted. This is the story of the Tylenol murders. And this is why every bottle of medicine you buy today has a tamper-evident seal. Before September 1982, anyone could open any product, poison it, and put it back on the shelf. After 7 people died, that changed forever. By the end of this video, you will never look at a medicine bottle the same way again. Chicago, Illinois. Late September 1982. America is still deep in recession. Unemployment is at 9%. People are worried about jobs, money, inflation. Nobody is thinking about whether their medicine has been poisoned. Why would they? Product tampering wasn't something that happened. It wasn't something people feared. You bought aspirin at the drugstore, you took it, you felt better. That's how it worked for decades. Tylenol was the most trusted pain reliever in America. Extra-strength Tylenol had been on the market since 1975, red and white capsules. Each capsule contained 500 milligrams of acetaminophen, made by McNeil Consumer Products, a subsidiary of Johnson & Johnson, the biggest over-the-counter painkiller brand in the country. 35% market share. The capsules came in bottles with simple twist-off caps. No protective seal over the mouth of the bottle. No shrink wrap around the cap. No foil barrier under the lid. Just a cotton ball stuffed in the top of the bottle and a basic plastic screw cap. Anyone could open a bottle in a store aisle, do anything they wanted to the contents, close it back up, and put it back on the shelf. And nobody would ever know until someone took the medicine and died. September 29, 1982. Early morning, Elk Grove Village, Illinois, a suburb northwest of Chicago. 12-year-old Mary Kellerman woke up with a runny nose and a slight headache. Nothing serious. Her parents, Dennis and Jenna Kellerman, gave her 1 extra-strength Tylenol capsule. It was 7 in the morning. She took the capsule with water and went back to her room. At 7:12, her parents heard a loud thud from the bathroom. They ran in and found Mary collapsed on the floor. She wasn't breathing. Her lips were already turning blue. Dennis Kellerman called 911 immediately. Paramedics arrived at 7:18. They tried to resuscitate her in the ambulance. Nothing worked. Mary Kellerman was pronounced dead at Northwest Community Hospital at 7:50. She had been perfectly healthy 45 minutes earlier. 1 Tylenol capsule. 45 minutes. Dead. The medical examiner performed an emergency autopsy that afternoon. The cause of death was immediate and obvious. Cyanide poisoning, massive dose. Her blood showed lethal levels of potassium cyanide, but where did it come from? The Kellerman family had no cyanide in their home, no industrial chemicals, no photography supplies, no metal plating equipment, nothing that would contain cyanide. The only thing Mary had consumed that morning was the Tylenol capsule. The medical examiner ordered the Tylenol bottle tested. The lab opened the bottle and immediately smelled bitter almonds. Cyanide has a distinctive smell, like bitter almonds, though not everyone can detect it. The lab tested 3 capsules from the bottle. All 3 contained cyanide, not traces, not contamination, pure potassium cyanide packed inside gelatin capsules that were supposed to contain acetaminophen. Someone had opened the capsules, dumped out the medicine, filled them with cyanide, and resealed them. That same morning, September 29th, just a few hours after Mary Kellerman died, postal worker Adam Janus, age 27, came home from work in Arlington Heights, another Chicago suburb. He had a minor chest pain, nothing alarming. He took 2 extra-strength Tylenol capsules. Within minutes, he collapsed. His family called 911. He was rushed to the hospital. He died that afternoon at 4:30. The doctors suspected a heart attack initially. A healthy 27-year-old dying suddenly. It seemed unlikely, but not impossible. They performed an autopsy. Cyanide poisoning, identical to Mary Kellerman. Same method, same dose, same result. Here's where it gets worse. Adam Janis's family gathered at his home that evening to mourn. His brother Stanley, age 25, and Stanley's wife, Teresa, age 19, both had headaches from stress and grief. They found the Tylenol bottle that Adam had used. They each took capsules from the same bottle. Both collapsed within minutes. Stanley died at the hospital. Teresa died at the hospital. 3 people from the same family dead in one day, all from the same bottle of extra-strength Tylenol, all from cyanide poisoning. By the evening of September 29th, Chicago area hospitals were seeing a pattern. 3 deaths in one day, all cyanide poisoning, all connected to Tylenol. The Cook County Medical Examiner's Office contacted the Illinois Department of Public Health. The Public Health Department contacted the FDA. The FDA contacted McNeil Consumer Products, and everyone realized simultaneously that they had a massive problem. If multiple bottles of Tylenol had been poisoned, people were taking it right now. People were dying right now, and there was no way to warn everyone fast enough. September 30th, 1982, the next morning. Mary McFarland, age 31, took 2 extra-strength Tylenol capsules at work. She was a store clerk at a Jewel food store in Elmhurst. She collapsed behind the counter. Co-workers called paramedics. She was dead before the ambulance arrived. Cyanide poisoning. Paula Prince, age 35, a flight attendant, bought a bottle of extra-strength Tylenol at a Walgreens drugstore on North Wells Street in Chicago. She took capsules that night for a headache. She was found dead in her apartment 2 days later. Cyanide poisoning. Mary Reiner, age 27, recently gave birth to her 4th child. She had a headache. She took extra-strength Tylenol. She collapsed in her home in Winfield. Her husband called 911. She died at the hospital. Cyanide poisoning. 7 people dead in 72 hours, all from extra-strength Tylenol, all from cyanide-laced capsules purchased at different stores across the Chicago metropolitan area. Jewel, Osco, Walgreens. Different stores, different locations, different bottles, same poison. The Chicago Police Department, the FBI, the FDA, and the Illinois State Police formed a joint task force. Over 100 investigators were assigned to the case. They traced every bottle of Tylenol sold in the Chicago area. They tested thousands of bottles. They found 8 bottles total that contained cyanide-laced capsules, 8 bottles out of millions. The bottles had been purchased from stores in Arlington Heights, Elk Grove Village, Chicago, Schaumburg, and Winfield. No pattern, no connection between the stores, no common distributor. The bottles had been poisoned after they left the factory. Someone bought them, took them home, opened them, poisoned the capsules, returned to the stores, and put them back on the shelves. Johnson & Johnson immediately issued a nationwide recall. Every bottle of extra-strength Tylenol capsules in America. 31 million bottles, the largest recall in history at that time. The recall cost the company more than $100 million. McNeil Consumer Products stopped all production of Tylenol capsules. They pulled every advertisement. They stopped shipments. They warned every hospital, every pharmacy, every store in America. The media coverage was constant. Every news channel, every newspaper, every radio station, do not take Tylenol. If you have Tylenol, throw it away. Do not take any capsules. Panic spread nationwide. Not just about Tylenol, about everything. If someone could poison Tylenol, they could poison anything. Aspirin, cold medicine, food, drinks, anything on a store shelf. Consumer confidence collapsed overnight. The investigation intensified. The FBI brought in every resource they had. They interviewed thousands of people, store employees, factory workers, delivery drivers, anyone who had access to Tylenol bottles. They developed a suspect list. One name kept appearing, James William Lewis. He was a petty criminal with a history of fraud and extortion. In October 1982, a few weeks after the murders, James Lewis sent a letter to Johnson & Johnson. The letter demanded $1 million to stop the killings. He claimed he had poisoned the Tylenol. He claimed he would do it again unless they paid. The letter gave specific instructions for delivering the money. The FBI traced the letter. It had been mailed from New York City. They tracked James Lewis to a library in Manhattan. They arrested him in December 1982. But there was a problem. They couldn't prove he poisoned the Tylenol. They couldn't place him in Chicago during the murders. They couldn't find any physical evidence linking him to the poisoned capsules. They couldn't find cyanide in his possession. They couldn't find anything except the extortion letter, so they charged him with extortion, not murder. He was convicted of extortion and served 13 years in prison. He was released in 1995. He died in 2023 at age 76. He always denied poisoning the Tylenol, and nobody ever proved he did it. The FBI investigated thousands of other leads. They looked at disgruntled McNeil employees. They looked at competitors trying to destroy Tylenol's market share. They looked at domestic terrorism. They looked at random psychopaths. They followed every tip, every theory, every possibility. They never found the killer. The case remains unsolved. 42 years later, 7 murders, no arrests, no convictions, no justice. But something did change. The law changed. October 1982, Congress began hearings on product tampering. Before the Tylenol murders, product tampering was not a federal crime. It was considered vandalism or maybe state-level assault if someone got hurt. But there was no specific federal law against poisoning consumer products. That changed fast. The Federal Anti-Tampering Act was introduced in Congress in October 1982. It passed in both the House and Senate with overwhelming support. President Ronald Reagan signed it into law in January 1983. The law made it a federal crime to tamper with consumer products. Maximum penalty, life in prison if someone dies from the tampering. The FBI got jurisdiction over all product tampering cases. It became a federal offense to even threaten to tamper with products. But the law was just the beginning. The real change was in packaging. Johnson & Johnson didn't wait for the law. They redesigned Tylenol packaging immediately. November 1982. They brought Tylenol back to market with triple seal packaging. First seal, plastic wrap around the cap. Second seal, foil seal over the mouth of the bottle. Third seal, inner seal on the capsules themselves. You couldn't open a bottle without breaking visible seals. If the seals were broken, you knew someone had opened it. Don't buy it. The new packaging cost Johnson & Johnson millions to implement. They did it anyway, because their brand was destroyed. Tylenol went from 35% market share to 0 in 1 week. They had to rebuild trust. Triple seal packaging was how they did it. Every other pharmaceutical company followed. Bayer, Bristol-Myers, Procter & Gamble. Within 6 months, every over-the-counter medication in America had tamper-evident packaging, shrink wrap, foil seals, safety caps, blister packs. The industry standard changed completely, but it wasn't just medicine. Food companies saw what happened. If medicine could be poisoned, so could food. Grocery manufacturers started adding tamper-evident seals to everything. Juice bottles, soda bottles, baby food jars, cereal boxes, anything that could be opened and resealed got safety packaging. The FDA formalized this into regulations in 1983, the Tamper-Resistant Packaging Rule. Every over-the-counter drug had to have tamper-evident packaging. The rule defined exactly what qualified as tamper-evident. The packaging had to make it obvious if someone had opened the product. It had to be difficult to reseal without leaving evidence. Companies that violated the rule faced massive fines and product recalls. Johnson & Johnson did something else that became standard practice. They established a crisis management protocol. Before Tylenol, companies would deny problems, minimize damage, protect their stock price. Johnson & Johnson did the opposite. They were completely transparent. They cooperated fully with investigators. They prioritized public safety over profits. They took the financial hit. And it worked. By 1983, Tylenol had regained most of its market share, not because people forgot about the murders, because Johnson & Johnson proved they could be trusted. They showed that when something went wrong, they would fix it. That corporate behavior became the model for crisis management. When something goes wrong, tell the truth, fix the problem, protect the public. The Tylenol response is taught in business schools today as the correct way to handle a crisis. The 7 victims left families behind. Mary Kellerman's parents, Dennis and Gina, became advocates for product safety. They pushed for stronger laws. They demanded accountability. They made sure their daughter's death meant something. Adam Janus's death destroyed his family. His brother Stanley and sister-in-law Teresa died with him. 3 deaths in one family in one day. The surviving family members never recovered from the trauma. Mary McFarland left behind 2 young children. Paula Prince's family fought for years to keep the investigation active. Mary Reiner's husband raised their 4 children alone. Every one of these families wanted the killer caught, wanted justice. They never got it. The person who did this was never identified, never arrested, never punished. The fear lasted for years. Throughout the 1980s, copycat tampering incidents happened regularly. Someone would poison Tylenol again, trying to replicate the original crimes. Someone would poison other products. Excedrin, Lipton cup of soup, eye drops. Every incident triggered recalls, investigations, panic. Most were hoaxes. Some were real. In 1986, a woman named Stella Nickel poisoned her husband by giving him Excedrin capsules filled with cyanide. She also poisoned random bottles and put them back on store shelves to make it look like a random attack, similar to the Tylenol murders. She wanted to collect life insurance on her husband and blame his death on product tampering. She killed 2 people. She was caught. She was convicted. She got 90 years in prison, but she only got caught because she made mistakes. The original Tylenol killer made no mistakes, left no evidence, disappeared completely. Today, every product you buy has tamper-evident packaging. Medicine bottles have seals, food jars have safety buttons, beverage bottles have shrink bands. Blister packs make it impossible to access pills without destroying the package. All of this exists because 7 people in Chicago took Tylenol and died. The packaging you see every time you open a medicine bottle is a direct result of those deaths. The laws against product tampering exist because of those deaths. The FBI's authority to investigate product crimes exists because of those deaths. Every protection you have when you buy over-the-counter products exists because someone filled Tylenol capsules with cyanide in September 1982 and killed 7 people. The case file is still open. The FBI still accepts tips. The statute of limitations for murder never expires. If the killer is still alive, they could still be prosecuted. But 42 years have passed. The evidence is old. The witnesses are gone. The chance of solving this case decreases every year. Whoever did this got away with it. Committed 7 murders in 3 days, terrified an entire country, changed an entire industry, and walked away free. That's the reality. Not every blood law ends with justice. Sometimes the villain wins, sometimes the killer is never caught. But the law still gets written, the protections still get created, because the deaths still matter, because the victims still deserve to be remembered. Mary Kellerman was 12 years old. She wanted to be a veterinarian. Adam Janus was 27. He was a postal worker. Stanley Janus was 25. He was a newlywed. Teresa Janus was 19. She had been married for 3 months. Mary McFarland was 31. She was a mother of 2. Paula Prince was 35. She was a flight attendant. Mary Reiner was 27. She had just given birth to her 4th child. 7 people. 7 normal people doing normal things, taking medicine for a headache. And they died because someone decided to kill random strangers for reasons we will never understand. The next time you open a bottle of medicine and break that safety seal, remember them. Remember that seal exists because they died. Remember that someone broke into the supply chain and turned a trusted product into poison. Remember that it took 7 deaths to create the protections you have today. Remember that every safety seal, every tamper-evident package, every warning on every product exists because someone bled for it. That's what a blood law is. Someone dies. The law gets written. And we owe it to them to remember why that law exists and to never let those protections be taken away. Most of the time, we catch the killer. Most of the time, justice happens, but not always. Sometimes the person who causes the deaths is never found. Sometimes they walk away free, but the law still changes. The system still improves. Lives still get saved. Because even when the villain escapes, the victims still matter. Their deaths still count, and the laws written in their blood still protect everyone who comes after them. The Tylenol killer was never caught, but 7 people still died. And because they died, millions of people are safer today. That's the law written in their blood, and it will protect people for generations to come.